Hello everybody, this is going to be my video for Loki episode 4, the Nexus event. And I'm putting this out a little bit earlier than I usually do, so I can't stress enough. There's going to be a lot of spoilers in this. But without any further ado, let's get to it. We start off on Asgard. We see Sylvie as a kid just, playing with some toys. Then the cops show up and, we know what the cops do. No, TVA shows up and Rinslayer's with them. Hunter A23 apparently. I looked at her uniform. She grabs Sylvie and takes her to the TVA. Sylvie goes through all the stuff our Loki went through. Um, but when she is about to be judged, she grabs Rinslayer's temp pad and ports out of there. We then cut to the present Renslayer standing before the Timekeepers, which this is the first time that we've seen them. Then we see her walk out, and she says that the Timekeepers are saying that it's basically all her fault, which I guess it is because she let Sylvie go, or Sylvie was able to escape. Mobius is pressing her for access to C20, but Renslayer insists that C20 is dead, killed by Sylvie. Her mind scrambled. I don't buy it, and neither does Mobius. Now we come back to Lamentus. Things are crumbling around Loki and Sylvie. They kind of have like a heart to heart since they think they're both about to die. Sylvie explains how she's always been on the run from the TVA. Because everywhere she goes, she isn't supposed to exist. So it's like the variant's energy leaves like a smoke signal, basically. And she explains how she's like always had to live in apocalypses. Not a very nice place to live. They hold hands, then all of a sudden the TVA see a massive timeline branch. The TVA ports them out and arrests them. Mobius calls Loki a narcissist and a bad friend. Narcissist is definitely true, but he might end up being a good friend later on. Uh, Loki yells at Mobius, and the TVA. Well, he yells that the TVA is lying to him before he is put in his time prison, which, as you can see here, is basically Loki just getting like kicked in the little Loki over and over again. It's pretty funny. Meanwhile, Mobius is in Renslayer's office, wanting access to Sylvie, but Renslayer won't let him, says it's too dangerous, tells him to focus on his Loki. She's obviously hiding something. He leaves, has a short convo with B-15, tells her that Loki said the TVA is lying to him. This seems to mean something to her. Back in the time prison, Loki learned his lesson that the times he's hurt people, it wasn't funny. And he was just doing it to garnish attention. Mobius brings him back into the interrogation room and proceeds to interrogate. They have a bunch of back and forth. Loki denies he and Sylvie are working together. Doesn't really give much info at first. Mobius threatens to put him back in the back with Lady Sif, and not wanting that. Loki spins this tale about he's the mastermind and Sylvie's just a pawn, and he's just gonna toss her aside when she's no longer useful. Mobius bluffs that they've already killed Sylvie. So yeah, you're the superior Loki. Loki believes him. Good riddance. He says good riddance, and but he has like a sad look. Mobius starts laughing. It's like, oh, you like her. No wonder you don't know what the Nexus event was. You're too busy swooning over each other, is what he says. Uh, Mobius keeps pushing Loki. Uh, and Loki bursts out that everybody at the TVA is a variant. Mobius doesn't say it, but it seems like he believes him, and he puts him back in the time cell. Mobius goes to Renslayer's office, has a drink, because they're supposed to be closing the case. He pushes her for more info on why he couldn't see Sylvie or C20. Renslayer says that she was just protecting him. She's lying big time, though. Mobius steals her tempad and while her back is turned. Meanwhile, this starts to where stuff starts to get a little interesting. B-15 takes Sylvie back to the Rocks cart to talk to her. After being enchanted by Sylvie, B-15 started remembering her past. It seems she's now on Team Loki. Meanwhile, Mobius looks through the tempad and sees that C20 is marked as deceased, and but there's a video, and on that video, C20 is exclaiming that it's the same thing that like what Loki was saying, that they're all variants. Mobius goes back to Loki in the time prison. Mobius explains that, whatever connection that him and Sylvie have, it might be enough to take down the TVA. Loki's a bit confused, but Mobius says that if, Loki wants to save Sylvie, then he needs to trust him. As they leave the cell, though, Renslayer is waiting for him, confronts them about the tempad, and Mobius tries to play it cool. He's like, "Oh, I must have picked yours up on accident," but then he thinks back to the question that Renslayer asked him in the office, like, "Oh, where would you want to go?" He says he wants to go back to wherever he came from before he was part of the TVA, and they just Renslayer just prunes him for that. So yeah, this is becoming very, very apparent that the TVA is just a big fascist deal. No room for outward thinking, which is pretty much been the whole theme of like the sacred timeline. Everything has to go exactly this way, or you're dead, basically. Well, then they take both Loki and Sylvie to the elevator to see the timekeepers. And as they're going up the elevator, Sylvie tries to get Renslayer to say what the event was that caused them to bring her to the TVA to begin with, and Renslayer doesn't even know, or at least she says she doesn't know. She has like a kind of a weird face. She might just be saying that she doesn't know, just to get under her skin. Then they walk in, and the timekeepers begin berating them, calling them cosmic disappointments and all that. Loki's like, "Oh well, I've died like so many times, I'm not scared." And one of them's like, "Oh well, your bravado is no use here." The timekeepers, seem at first just to be a bunch of bureaucratic, not like nonsense. And we get a big fight scene. B-15 walks in, releases their time collars and throws Sylvie her sword. They both Loki and Sylvie, are able to take down like a few hunters each. As Sylvie has to take down Renslayer as well. She knocks her out, and then starts to get like batshit. Sylvie throws her sword and decapitates the middle, like, Kang Timekeeper, it's the one people were saying looked like Kang. Uh, and it turns out they're all animatronics, they're robots, synthoids, androids, whatever. They're machines. And yeah, they're not real. And this obviously leaves them kind of like confused on what to do next. Uh, Loki tries to, reassure her, that they're gonna figure it out, but it's pretty sad moment here. Uh, Loki tries to reassure her, and then Renslayer comes up behind them and prunes Loki right as he's like trying to express his emotions and stuff. And then cliffhanger. um, but then that's not it. We have a after credits scene, so not cliffhanger yet. This, this, mind blown. I was freaking out when I saw this. Loki wakes up, wondering if he's dead. They he's greeted by these four Lokis. There's four. Uh, and they're like they do the whole thing. Oh, you will be dead unless you come with us. Come with me if you want to live. Um, let's see. We have a Thor Loki. I guess. I guess it's in his universe instead of have the power of Thor. It's he who he who is worthy will have the power of Loki. And maybe he's like uh maybe in his universe Thor ended up being a villain. And we have the kid Loki here. And from the comics, he's like a resurrected Loki that's kind of good. And then, of course, we have the classic old Loki in the classic costume, of course. I really dig it. They did it very well. They didn't make it look cheap, which is one of the biggest problems with a lot of like non-Marvel like superhero stuff, or let's say the anime, like live action anime movies. The costumes always look really cheap. You can do comic accurate and not make it look cheap. This is comic accurate and it looks nice. I like it. And then the fourth Loki sitting in the kid Loki's lap is this. I was calling it Crocky or Croaky because Crocodile Loki, but apparently this is an alligator. So I don't know. I don't know what to call him. But yeah, wild stuff this episode. This series just keeps on getting better and better. I'm really looking forward to the next episode. I've got like I'm constantly trying to figure out brainstorming theories about like what's gonna happen next in my head, and I might make a video on it. I'm not sure. I was having some ideas earlier, um, but yeah, I don't even know what else to say. I was just really excited about this episode. Anyway, like and subscribe. Go follow me on Twitch. I play lots of video games every day. And yeah, hope everybody has a stellar night.